Hey everyone, Piano Man Chuck here. I'm back with the Roland Fantom 8, the 88 key version. And this video, my goal is to clarify or make clear in your mind what a scene is and what a zone is. Because I'm getting a lot of people asking questions about, can you please explain zones or can you explain scenes? They're lost. So let's clear up the terminology, the zone and a scene, and this may be basic for a lot of you that know what I'm going to be covering here, but there is something that seems to be unique to Roland when it comes to zones, and I will cover that after I do my explanation here. So stick around, and you might want to go to that part of the video after this or skip to that part of the video so that you can see exactly what's going on here. All right, so let's start out with a scene. This is all scene based. Now, to explain what a scene is, let's pretend you have never heard the word scene. It doesn't exist. You've got a keyboard in front of you, you turn it on, you do all these kinds of things with it. You're going to mess with the faders, you're going to choose different instruments and put them on different zones. You're going to layer, you're going to split, you're going to mess with the recording functions, you're going to mess with the effects, you're going to do all kinds of things, and come up with a song, whatever, play with the pads, and make all kinds of adjustments and everything. Wouldn't it be nice if, when you're done, you could just turn off the keyboard, come back the next day, turn it back on, and everything is just the way you left it when you turned it off? That would be great. What I just described to you is basically what a scene is. Now, instead of turning it off and turning it back on and having it exactly the way you left it, you're going to store everything. You're going to take a complete snapshot of everything and put it into a scene. Okay? There's 512 different scene locations here, and you can give them names or whatever. So basically, instead of turning the keyboard off and having everything remembered, which is not going to happen anyway, you're just going to save it to a scene. That way, the next time you come in, you'll turn on your keyboard and you'll bring up the scene that you stored everything to. So if you're working on a different song next time, or you're doing something else, you're demonstrating this for a friend, or you're having somebody who's borrowed this for an hour or so, everything is stored into a scene. So you come up with something different, store it to a different scene. You want to come back to what you were working on the other day, recall that scene. That's all a scene is. And because this is scene based, it makes it real easy. You don't have to go to combi mode or global mode or song mode or anything like that, because all those things are laid out right in front of you. You've got your control section, your operator section, your recorder section, your sequencers, your synthesizer section. Everything is laid out in front of you. You don't have to use menus to go to another section. That's what makes this nice. So when you store a snapshot of everything you've done, you're done. So hopefully that clarifies what a scene is. Now, zones. I don't know how many times I've spoken with people that use multi-track recorders and they use mixers and all that stuff, but they don't know what a zone is. It throws them off, or maybe they never had to know because they didn't use a keyboard that uses zones. So, how many here use multi-track recorders or have used a multi-track recorder? How many of you have used a mixer or a mixing console or even a simple 4-track mixer? Okay, well, a zone is the same thing as a track, which is the same thing as a channel strip. So basically, if you're using a mixer, one fader line over here, you got a fader, you've got volume, you've got some other things, maybe you got tone. On a mixer, you've got all these things, but it's all in one strip, and they call it a channel strip. And if you're using a multi-track recorder, that same thing, the same concept, is called a track. Well, here with a workstation, it's called a zone. So, for all intents and purposes of this video, zones, tracks, channel strips, the words are all interchangeable. Okay? So now you know what it means. And to clarify it even further for people that have not used multi-track recorders or mixers, or basically the concept is all the same. Here you've got 8 different zones. There's actually 16. You hit a button and it takes you to 9 to 16. You hit another one, it takes you back to 1 to 8. So you're looking at 8 at a time. Basically, you're going to put an instrument or a sound or patch or voice or whatever on one of these zones or tracks. And then you're going to put another one on the next zone or track. And the third one, and so on. All right, so that's all there is to it. So let's start out. We're going to go to, let's say, Bank D, and we're going to go to a scene that has nothing in it. We're just going to start out, and let's go to my zone view over here. And we're looking at 4 tracks at a time here. We can actually look at 8 or 16 at a time. We're going to start out looking at 4. And I've got basically by default all these default to a acoustic pop piano. Well, I don't want that. Let me go to a bass. All right, and let's see what kind of basses are available to me. I've got acoustic, electric, and synth basses. The electric basses here. Let's go with just anything, just so that we can sample this. Alright, so I've got a bass here on track 1 or zone 1 or channel strip 1, whatever you want to call it. Okay, now I'm going to go to track 2 and I'm going to assign something else. Let's just keep the piano that's on here. And let me go to my 3rd track and maybe give it a pad. So let's go over to pads. I don't want that pad. Okay, let's take that. It's a little bit too loud for my liking. I'm going to make it a little bit lower in volume, which I can do with these faders right here. These are my volumes for now. They can double as other things, but for right now, it's volume. And typically, in the past, when you were working with mixers or multi-track recorders, if you wanted to hear just a single channel, you would mute out the other channels or solo the channel that you want to work on. This is a little bit different. Yeah, you can do that. These things right here, these are going to turn all of these on the 3 instruments that I chose. I've got a bass and a piano. Let's bring the piano out a little more. A little bit less, and I've got the pad in there. So now I've got all 3. All right, now Roland does something else over here. You'll notice this top row over here that's labeled select, and it's got 8 different buttons that basically they can light up as well, just like these do. So let's say I just want to hear track 1. So I'm going to select track 1. And again, I'm hearing it with everything. So I'm going to turn that off. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but I'm going to turn that off because I don't want that as part of the mix. I just want to hear that particular channel. I'm turn it back on, and now I'm hearing it with the mix. Now, whatever is lit up here in the select thing means that's what I've got the focus on over here in my display. So any changes that I make over here in the display are going to happen just to that track right there. Okay? And if I want to just focus on the piano, I'll select that up here with the select button, and as long as everything's lit, as long as that's lit, I'm hearing it within the context of this mix. But if I want to hear the piano just by itself, now I've got it selected, but I want to take it out of the mix. So I'm going to turn that off so I can hear just the piano. And over here I can go into my effects and just change the piano. Alright, I kind of like that. So let's bring it back into the mix and see what it sounds like. So you get the idea. That select button up here, whatever is lit, that's the track or zone that has the focus for whatever you're doing over here. So again, when I'm doing this filter, I'm doing it to track 2, which is zone 2, which is my piano. And if I want to adjust the pad within the context of this mix, I just select that. And now when I'm adjusting the filter, it applies only to the pad. And if I want to focus a little more on that, I'll just take the pad out of the mix while it has the focus and just focus on that. So, it might be a little bit confusing at first, but once you get the hang of this, it's a very powerful tool to be able to use. I can now hear things with the mix and focus on it without the mix to fine-tune it, which may not sound exactly the way I want. I don't know until I hear it within the mix. Well, so with these buttons, I can do that now. So I've got bass, piano, and pad. Let me just focus on the bass alone, take it out of the mix. Maybe I want more of an attack on that. So anyway, I hope this has helped you out. You should now be able to understand the purpose of scenes and what they're for and what they're used for. You should be able to understand what zones are now. When you call it a track or a channel strip, it's real easy. It means the same thing. And that special select button up there, which lets you focus on just one track or have the focus while you're manipulating all kinds of things over here, specifically just for the one track that you've selected. So I hope this has helped you out. Piano Man Chuck, peace out. Thanks for watching.